Gentlemen, good morning. Am I loud enough for you? I tell you what, it's all in the microphone. Good morning. Good morning. There's Simon. I love how.
Hi, Lee. Hi, Lee. How are you?
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm happy for Friday. It's been a long week.
Lee, I'm following along English Premier League from more than 12 or 13 years. I am really glad that finally my team Liverpool won the EPL championship. And it's been 30-year long story. It is on following around. So today is a very special day for me and the Liverpool fans.
That's awesome. That's awesome. 30 years. Wow.
Yes, and I am been supporting Liverpool for more than 12, 13 years, and I am considering why not I am in that generation when Liverpool last time won the championship. And today it's happening, and I really don't believe it's true. It's happening right now. And we won the championship before the 7 matches even remaining. And that's absolutely outstanding. That's even 7 matches still remaining.
Your excitement is infectious. That's cool. That's cool.
Lee, do you have? Are you a fan of any team like NFL, NBA, or any kind of?
Yeah, yeah, although I'll say that my sports tend to be a bit more individual. So I've done martial arts for much of my life, and tennis and wrestling and just the team stuff.
And cricket?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I only have to go to my neighborhood park and I can pick up a game of cricket, actually.
Because I believe that there is a large population of Indians living in Texas. So there must be a lot of people playing cricket over there.
Yeah, really. Yeah, there really are, actually. Actually, I wasn't joking. There is often cricket being played for days on end in the park. Or what feels like days on end. All right. We're 5 after. We'll get going. Let's get going. It's Friday, the last Friday of June 26th. We do record our community meetings, so we are recording. We'll post the recording later. A little bit of an update on the recordings. Actually, I'll share the meeting minutes. If you don't have the meeting minutes up, please pull them up and pop your name in. I'm just seeing that Tharun is here, so now I'm even more. Oh, wait, 1 second. As soon as and Tharun is with us. Very good. I've only been hounding him for what feels like 9 weeks now, Tharun. I'm just, and then as soon as you join, I start razzing you and trying to give you a bad time. So I'm sorry. Anyway, good. Okay, everyone that's on the call, please toss in your names into the attendee list. Kush and I were catching up yesterday on Lord knows how many topics. One of those was, I think, Kush, one of your comments was that, hey, feels like we might be having less attendance in some of the calls lately. And actually, I think it's pretty funny that we usually, on this community call, we usually have about as many people that show up to the bi-weekly Istio community call. And there's a lot of Istio fans out there. So anyway, we've got some announcements today. We've got a couple of topics. One of the announcements is just to welcome folks who are on the call for the first time. Tharun for sure, and I know Harsh has been on calls before, so is Tanuj, and Shivam, you've been on calls before as well, so.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello. Yes. 1 week ago, I just joined the community. So this is my first call.
Oh, it is. Okay. I'm confused then. Yeah. Please, if you would, do a quick introduction.
Okay, sure. My name is Shivam Rathod. I am a pre-final year student at IIT Warrior, and I am mainly interested in backend dev and DevOps. So I joined this community. So I'm hoping for having a great learning experience here.
Nice. Yeah, it's very nice to have you. And you think you?
Thank you.
Yeah. You already. I think Shivai, as your meshmate, is going to make a.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
we have a call after this meeting.
Yeah.
Nice. I love a good mesh mating. That's good. All right, fair enough. Good to have you, Shivam. Tharun, if you want to do a quick introduction, that'd be nice.
Hey everyone, this is Tharun. So I'm working in the software industry for almost 2 years now, and I love open source, and during my free time I'll contribute to open source repos, and mostly I started with service mesh now, and I just joined this meshery community to contribute to the meshery service mesh.
Yeah. Tharun, you've committed to Kuma a little bit, I think, already.
Yes.
Nice. Was part of that interest toward SMI? The service.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Oh, the service mesh interface.
No, actually, we have plans of adding Kuma to the service mesh interface, but we haven't started work on it.
Got it. Very good. We'll talk about Kuma here in just a minute. So.
Yeah, sure.
Very good to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. All right. Let me share the meeting minutes. We'll go through a couple of announcements and then move on. So welcome Tharun and Shivam. There's a number of other folks that joined this week that I ran out of time to just list down their names, but I did capture Mitch here. He's another Googler has joined. Mitch is quite interested in the work that we're doing on service mesh performance specification, or SMPS. And so there's the gathering around that just continues. I actually met with a new chief architect at Cisco, focused on an unannounced and an uncreated new initiative that'll be a bit meshy naturally. And anyway, I mention it because they're also interested in, not just SMPS, but a number of other things that we're doing here. So that's great. All right. We mentioned last time there is, I think we have 3 active internships going on right now. We were going to have 5. A couple of them fell through. but one of the fourth one coming up, maybe fourth and fifth, I'm not sure, will be Google Season of Docs. There have been a few of you who have expressed interest there, and a couple of newcomers who are really hard at work chipping away at preparing themselves for placement potentially into that. And it's very much needed. You know,
Lee, your screen is not visible for some reason. Is this for me or?
I don't know.
For me, it was visible.
For me, it's visual.
Yeah. That, Shivam, there's some joke in there about it being just you. All right. Anyway, Google Season of Docs. Good. We're going to do some good stuff. Again, another comment from Kush this week was just the just noticing how much of a story and how much work that's been done in the community that's been yet to be published, yet to be written about in the docs or otherwise. And I couldn't agree more. There's so much to go talk about. We're really doing ourselves a disservice by continuing to write code and not just put pen to paper for a little bit. So speaking of, let me jump around here just quickly and say, if you're wanting to put pen to paper, please do. 3 of you have draft posts that are up for review. So Ishita Kumar has a post that's being reviewed right now. So do Naveen and Kanishkar with respect to their work on SMI, on the conformance tool. And so does Kush on the distributed performance post. I think there are links to most of these posts kind of down in last week's meeting. So if you want to help review, that would be great. And if you'd like to write anything or actually in general, if you're looking to talk at a conference, be on a podcast, that kind of a thing, we generally have more of those opportunities floating around. Put your ideas, if you would, into the content calendar here. I'll open it up real quick. The content calendar kind of tracks some of our upcoming blog posts, some upcoming meetups. Speaking of, Chaim is on the call. Mr. Hellman, there are people signed up for your meetup session in July. I chuckle because I know we didn't really. Hey, you got time on the 16th? July. For remote.
I'm probably going to be quarantined in Tel Aviv. I'm flying to Israel, but yeah, I'll have plenty of time.
Nice. Okay, give this some consideration if you would. The time that this would start at would be 6 p.m. Central Time, so 4 p.m. Pacific, and yeah, 2
a.m. Israel time.
That's pretty rough. Okay,
I'll give it consideration because we'll probably be jet lagged, so it might actually work.
Right. Okay. We might help you get some sound sleep the next day. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that you're on the call. I'm glad we brought this up because I've just been watching a few people sign up, and so. Okay. To make it through the rest of these announcements, we've just begun to solicit some feedback from some of Meshri's adopters. A couple of adopters have sort of signed, have listed themselves. HPE will be doing it shortly with a nice short quote as well. I really haven't gone around and tried to rustle up comments or just a listing of the names from everyone, but we should. And Chaim, thinking of you and thinking about this a little bit, one of the things we haven't, I mean, I guess since as you're being assimilated into VMware, that I hadn't necessarily considered is that we've spoken with a few folks within the Tanzu service mesh team about, well, both about an NSX, or I'm sorry, a Tanzu service mesh adapter, but also about incorporating Meshry into their release process for performance testing. And so I'll put this bug in your ear, maybe.
All right. If you can tell me who those were, I'll be happy to reach out.
Nice. Yeah. I'll take a note. Yeah. Yeah. Sergio and Manish, but I'll follow up. And actually, Chaim, they both report to, this is funny, the book that I signed that when I was standing in front of your booth at the last KubeCon, they both report to that CTO at VMware, I forget.
Right. To Pere Munkler?
Yeah, yeah. All right, small world.
Lead us
I think I know which Manish that is. That's Manish Chuktu.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Chuk.
I don't know who Sergio is, but I'll find out. So Manish, by the way, you probably remember we were both on your panel at DockerCon on Service Mesh.
Yeah, now that's funny because that was when he was at Avi still.
Right. Avi was acquired also by VMware.
Well, I guess it's just a matter of time. I'll see you. We'll see you over there in about a year. Inside VMware, I guess. Yeah, that's right. That's funny.
Exactly.
It's Sergio Pozo, Pozo, and actually both Manish and Sergio are in our Slack.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you over a couple of slides just to help with the context. Yeah.
Lee just wanted to ask.
Yep, go ahead, Shivai. I think we were done.
I'm sorry if I cut off in between. I just wanted to ask, like, is there any session from like Layer5 during this KubeCon?
Yeah, there are two. One of which is focused on. One of which is focused on. What the title of the talk is something like understanding the discreetly analyzing the performance of discrete network functions, meaning that of some of the research we were doing with UT Austin, it was to tell people about the overhead of individual functions on a mesh. It's sort of very trying to give them data points very specifically about what it costs to perform a particular thing, whether that was a retry, whether that was a redirection, a different type of load balancing algorithm, whether that was MTLS or whatever that discrete network function is. That's one of the talks. The other talk is, well, we're going to use. I just actually sent an email about it this morning to the KubeCon staff. It'll be about CNCF SIG network and what we're doing there, which means that it's going to be a lot about SMPS and Kush, it'll actually be a forum for your distributed performance test work as well. It'll actually be a forum. It'll actually be a forum for the SMI conformance work as well. So, yes, we have 2 upcoming at KubeCon EU. But speaking of KubeCon, there's an upcoming deadline on Sunday for submissions to KubeCon North America, which is held in November maybe in Boston or maybe virtually. And so I've yet to submit. I'll be going through those activities. If anyone is thinking of submitting on topics in and around the initiatives here, I'm more than happy to help with a bit of wordsmithing. So that's actually, Shiva, I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of the topics today, and that's, does anyone have submittals for KubeCon North America? If you don't, come see me. Well, you should. All right, now that we're just haphazardly sort of going through this, I'll say, does anybody know a good visual designer? Could really use some CSS and Adobe Illustrator talents. Okay, well, think about it. Think about it. All right, so I'm sorry. So let's go back. Hey, small news item this week, Layer5 and our collaboration with HP was publicized this week in HP Discover on a partners and projects slide. Yeah, the logo looks good in black and white. Anyway, that's nice to get some recognition going on. There's more work for us to do with HP. Also, just to call out, I think we called out maybe I don't know if it was last week or what, but that Tanuj had been working on a short intro video. Now, I'll play it real quick because this one I think is the real deal, and I really appreciate the effort that Tanuj put in. So let's take a look.
That's really good.
Sorry, you guys will have to play that by yourselves because I think I cut it off. But that's very nice. So today's recording will have a nice intro to it when it's posted. So Tanuj, and thank you very much for that. Thank you for going through all the iterations as well.
No problem.
I also appreciate the fact that you withheld from calling me a picky bastard. So that was nice of you. Other news, in the CNCF, we've changed around the way in which sandbox projects are reviewed. And thank you, Tharun. I think he had to jump off. And as such, a couple of projects have sort of a flood of projects have come through. So one of those is Kuma entering into the sandbox. They've got a few I's to dot and T's to cross before they're sort of fully transitioned. BFE, we talked about last time. So they're going to come in. Honestly, on that one, I question why BFE came in. I don't see the value. Nuno spoke at Camp Cloud Native, and so did I. And the videos are up. Thank you for that link, Kush. We will finally be making a call for participation in SMPS. I did so earlier this week in small forums, and we seem to get a good response. The spec has been, yep, go ahead, Shivai.
No, nothing.
Oh, okay. The spec has been being advanced here recently through the work that Kanishkar and Naveen and Kush have been doing. So it's good. And we've been getting a little bit of participation from Google on the spec as well. So that's good. Okay. I've just got a couple of last topics here. Before we go through them, I'll say, does anyone else have topics? Let's have an open floor and a call for topics.
And leave one. I have one. Can we go for a VS Code extensions like Docker and Kubernetes for command line tooling? Regardless of writing some commands, have some extension available in VS Code. It's a good time to go for that, or wait for just a later for our command line improve. Just know your thoughts. I think VS.
Well, in my mind, one of the more interesting maybe VS Code extensions with respect to service mesh management would be for debugging your distributed applications when those workloads are running on a mesh. It can be hard to figure out what's going on, but if you got the ability to kind of live debug and do so in your IDE, that'd be pretty nice. Other ideas though, like any thoughts as to what functions it would perform?
I think I prefer some visual drawing, like one has eyes panel right now in a VS Code extension. They're drawing out that some visuals, the deployment and the replica set. Kind of good to know if we have some extension for our side that shows the detail of what is happening in the service mesh.
Yeah.
This would be a great advantage for.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it would be a way of delivering a designer, a service mesh workload designer, or a service mesh configuration designer. Yeah, that's interesting.
And also be a part of if somebody have pushing out a blue green deployment or a canary deployment, that visual designer actually showing us what is happening underneath that. So that's a great advantage. That's I think we look for in a VS Code extension.
Yeah. I would probably argue that maybe having real-time info, I don't know, maybe having real-time info in that extension would make sense. It's an interesting thought. But having some visualizations in there for sure. Nice. Speaking of VS Code extensions, Nitish Malhotra had brought one up this week. Has anyone ever used, well, I think it's called Code Review from JetBrains or from CodeStream? I'll put a link to it here. CodeStream, a way of facilitating reviews, code review, and code discussion, sort of within the IDE. An interesting thought. I think it's free for teams up to 5, which I don't know that would work well in pockets of those that are working within specific initiatives together here. I don't know. Okay. There's 2 other things to talk about, and really, I want to talk about Mesh Sync for a little bit, in part because Adip is here. And so, and we've been talking about this for a little while, and it's like, it's time to start. Adib, can you do me a favor and kind of recap the last portion of our exchange on the topic where we talked about the cache package and its use within the operator SDK potentially?
Sure. I was just about to bring up that point. So yeah, you mentioned about the cache package, and like earlier we decided of going with the SDK. So the SDK, like the cache package which you had mentioned was a package inside the client Go, which was the native package. And the operator SDK uses a library which is like the controller runtime library, which is again a wrapper over the client Go, and it's in the Kubernetes 6. So the SDK is also leveraging the cache package. So basically, you will not necessarily query the API directly, query through the informal sessions. So we'll be leveraging it anyways if we are using SDK.
Interesting. If I replay that back to you, would it be, it's accurate to say that by virtue of using the operator SDK, you are, or client, the cache package inside client Go is implicitly included?
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Okay. Well, that sort of seals the deal, I think, on use of operator SDK.
Exactly. Like SDKs are already like wrappers over clients, over libraries, so it's already implementing most of the stuff. So as like our focus can be just to make the business logic of the reconcile loop and how to take the desired and the state, a general controller core concepts. Just focus on that. So all the code generation, everything will be the copy functions, everything will be done by the SDK itself. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, Chaim, if you're able to share on this, it would be nice. I don't know if you are, but as Octarine has, no doubt had to tackle the task of staying in sync with, changing infrastructure with Kubernetes as a platform. Are you able to speak to a little bit of how that was done?
In what way? You mean how we track changes in the API?
Yeah. If that was just sort of a simple, kind of a simple watch on the Cube APIs, or if there was and how.
So yes, that does require some work and follow up on whenever a new release comes out in terms of which APIs are being added, which APIs are being deprecated, and modifying code for those APIs. That's for the code part. For the deployment part, a lot of ifs in the Helm charts for when you actually deploy Octarine. So depending on the Kubernetes version, using the relevant APIs to deploy our own components. So these are mainly the two areas where we had to invest in whenever there were changes to the Kubernetes API.
Of your own components, were those custom resources, or were those custom controllers?
So it's more of a, well, it's not really either one. So again, there are components which just for securing Kubernetes. So we have our admission controller. So we're more than a service mesh in our case. So we're covering everything around Kubernetes configuration and how to secure it. So we need to be able to track Kubernetes resources and make sure that they are configured securely. So that there's a lot of many API calls there that again we needed to make sure that keep with the changes in Kubernetes. But then again, there is, as I mentioned, there is the deployment of our code, which is different. And there it was mostly handled in Helm. Now it is handled in an operator. So the operator does have different code paths for different Kubernetes versions.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. And that was the operator SDK?
We are using the operator SDK for our operator, yes.
Kudo just made it into the CNCF this week, I think, as a sandbox project. And then I think the operator SDK is very close on its tails, on its coattails for heading in as well. Okay. And then what you described, it makes a lot of sense, and particularly around admission controllers being, a point of integration and kind of a place to enforce policy and well, okay. Well, with Arif's help and Nitish's and some others in the community, I think we're off to do a bit of operator work. So Adip, let me follow up with you after the call so we can get some initial, some small items moving forward.
Surely, totally looking forward to it. Sure.
Shivai.
So Lee, I was sort of wondering that, I mean, we can have sort of a, say, quick lab, because right now there was a recent quick lab that was launched with HashiCorp Terraform that was recently released, and it was announced during the JS, the open world JS from Linux World, from the Linux Foundation. So I was just thinking, I mean, if it's possible, since Google is mainly looking at the Istio, right? So the Istio service mesh, right? So I was thinking that we could probably have like if we could ask them, if we can have a quick lab for, say, the mesh for the mesh adapter for Istio, or I mean something along those lines.
Now, this would be an ask to Quick Labs or an ask to GCP.
I mean, like GCP. Usually, it's like the cloud. The cloud engineers at Google who are usually writing the content for the Quick Lab, and then it gets approved from the Quick Lab, and then they post it. So probably, I mean, this is just a rough idea. I mean, just a very high level thought that we could possibly have that. Because I mean, I was interacting with one of these people, so they were writing they were writing a new quick lab for cloud functions in GCP. So I was sort of considering, since there's a lot of support for Istio within GCP itself. So possibly, I mean, just having, I mean, if it works out, it will be good. I mean, because quick lab is very popular, and having a new quick lab specifically, say, for Mesh3 and for Istio, I mean, if someone is interested for it, they could sign up for it.
It's a great idea. It's well aligned with a lot of things that we do here about trying to use Mesh3 to help teach people service meshes.
Yeah. So I mean, since I already had made contact, I mean, I could possibly ask, if you want, the people. It was Greg from the cloud team. He works in New York. So I mean, I could possibly just ask what's usually the process, or I mean, if you want, I mean, we can do that.
Yep, please do. There's one contingency, or one that is contingency is the wrong word. There's a different C word I'm looking for. There's one caveat, or one gotcha, one. Anyway, and that is that you may be on the hook to help deliver if we were to go forth.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
Oh, yes, if you are able to help deliver, we should inquire.
All right. Okay.
All right. I only have one other topic. When we, who else has topics?
Lee, I have just one. Last time I watching the HP and other services. Right now, people are more talking about the stateful apps inside Kubernetes and service mesh. So if we are talking about in future stateful apps with mesh or kind of what we are doing, it's we have to change some things, some architectural changes, some considerations, how we leverage that, managing stateful apps.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the initial considerations that come to mind are about sticky sessions, or about and how you manage those through a mesh, or potentially about a particular individual or account that is signed into your service, and as they go to make requests, understanding that maybe their data is stored in a particular location. And so maybe trying to redirect their requests to be served closer to their data. So sort of co-locate the compute, if you will, or the servicing of their requests geographically adjacent to their data stores. That's sort of one way of, a couple ways of thinking about how to facilitate stateful considerations inside of a mesh. There's a, a distinguished services engineer that lives in Austin, a friend of mine, who is focused on service meshes. And one of the next projects that he'd really like to tackle is more or less a storage mesh, if you will, that has a little bit of what I was just articulating, but some other novel ideas. Yeah, I think that there's, there are some possibilities within there. I hesitate to even explore them because I can hardly keep up as is. But yeah, I think part of his ideas were really like an understanding that you would that you want distributed state, and that you want to partition it in such a way, or divvy up your partitions and spread around, more or less, like I think he was sort of describing kind of a next gen a distributed object store, but done a little more network centric than I think than object storage is done today. Anyway, so if you're interested in those topics, I could connect you with him because he loves talking about it.
Yes, Lee, I also talking about because the loads of the people are kind of restricted in Kubernetes and other kind of a good stuff that Kubernetes provide, that they are thinking about. It's not stateful apps. They're good for stateless app, but now solutions like NetApp and any other Valero is a backup storage option. Another project, they are really getting into it, and Kubernetes as native for stateless as native for a stateful. So it's a good topic to consider.
All right. Anyone have anything else? I appreciate that some of you have been helping with the Layer 5 NG that initiative. And we don't need to talk about it now, but I guess just a word of thanks. I know it's a challenge for me and for some of us. Well, I think that's all I have. Nobody has anything else. Let's end a bit early. Go watch Tanuja's video animation. Okay. All right. Very good. Nice to see everyone. Adip, I'll talk to you in a bit.
Ali.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Surely. Let's connect on Slack. Sure.
Okay.